The anniversary of Doctor Who. I'll give you a hint. Exterminate!
A best-selling author is really, oh, did I mention really unhappy about this year's Arthur C. Clarke nominees?
And folks, Amazon is everywhere. Even the Apollo 11 mission can't escape the internet retail giant. That and much more coming up on today's installment of Slice.
Covering all the news from every dark corner of the universe.
Hello from the children of planet Earth.
Hola y saludos a todos. Merci que bation qui orten.
Sliceofsci-fi.com.
And welcome, everyone, to another Slice of Sci-Fi. I'm Michael Armenenge.
I'm Brian Brown.
I am really not Sam Roberts. I'm Tom Kelly.
Yeah. I'm Megan Zier.
You.
I never know.
You never know. You never know who you are, which personality is, Sybil. Let's get to some news.
And now the news.
Oh, dig this. Amazon founder and CEO Jeff Bezos was 5 years old when Neil Armstrong made his historic walk on the surface of the moon. Now, 40 years later, Bezos is attempting to revive part of that historic mission and is attempting to raise the sunken engines of the Apollo 11 from the Atlantic.
This is so cool.
Dig that.
Mm-hmm.
So using high-tech sonar, an expedition spearheaded by Bezos has discovered what he claims were the discarded engines from the mission lurking at 14,000 feet deep.
Wow.
Now, the five engines were produced nearly 7.7 million pounds of thrust, dropped into the sea as planned minutes after liftoff in 69, basically. You know, it's like, boom, gone. 4 days later, Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin, of course, walked on the moon. Now, Bezos acknowledged the engines were property of NASA, but said he hoped that they will be displayed in museums.
Wow.
So NASA expressed excitement about the find. The space agency said that it has not been formally contacted by Bezos and waited for more information. Now, of course, no timetable has been set for recovery. But when it happens, it'll undoubtedly take longer than, so much longer to hoist those things up as, a few minutes afterwards, gone. So they're going to basically pull them up.
Well, it's a piece of history.
Yeah.
I mean, it is important.
Well, and it's unknown as what exactly survived on these engines once they hit the ocean floor and have been down there for so long. So
that's true.
Who knows? But the fact is, if they can bring them up and people can go, dude, check them out.
Yeah.
And if the guy's got more money than anybody, so it's like, why not? That's kind of cool. Now to allude to Tom's really big tease. So best-selling author Christopher Priest is not a fan of this year's crop of nominees for the Arthur C. Clarke Awards, to say the least.
Really?
John Scalzi wrote about this. It was great on his blog. So on the website, Priest called the short list of authors and nominees dreadful, called for the resignation of incompetent panel of judges.
Holy cow.
So here are the titles chosen for the short list. Basically, here we go. We got China Miéville's deep sea exploration novels, Embassy Town, to Jane Rogers' dystopian novel, The Testament of Jesse Lamb. Also included are Hull 03 by Greg Bear, Sherry Priest's The Waters Rising, Rule 34 by Charles Stross, and The End Specialist by Drew Margery. Dude, those are
not that bad.
These are awesome authors. Now, according to Priest, only Rogers' novel deserves to be on the short list, with the remaining titles are Unworthy and 4 novels outstandingly ignored by the judges.
Wow.
Are Ian R. McLeod, Wake Up and Dream, Simon Ing's Deadwater, Adam Roberts' By the Light Alone, and Lavi Tridhar's Osama's the name of it. Having read almost all the books up for the prize, Priest concluded that 2011 was a poor year for science fiction, and that the judges had decided to play it safe.
Wow.
I'm like, wow. We have a dreadful shortlist put together by a set of judges who were not fit for the purpose. They were incompetent. Their incompetence was made more problematic because the overall quality of the fiction of this year in question was poor.
Okay, this is just getting really close to nerd rage. Is really what's going on here.
Basically, he went on to say, he said they failed themselves, they failed Clark, blah 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 blah. Anyways, it's generated a lot. If you want a really good breakdown of it, John Scalzi gets really snarky with him. John Scalzi's great at that, and basically picks him apart and calls him an asshat.
Yes.
So it's kind of cool.
I don't know.
Like it.
Good luck getting nominated.
Yeah, again, yeah. Well, he's been nominated and won awards. That's the weird thing.
But
whatever.
I don't know after this.
So if you checked out the preview for the upcoming season of Doctor Who, you may have noticed a familiar eye stalk. After taking a year off, the Daleks will be back for the upcoming 7th season and to help celebrate the show's 50th anniversary. And Stephen Moffat is promising that not only will the new Daleks be seen in the Series 7, but we'll see every Dalek design used in the series since they made their debut.
Wow. Really? That's cool.
That is cool.
Yeah.
Including the Technicolor ones?
All of them.
Wow.
Moffat teased, he said all of them. We'll see all of them in the series via Twitter a couple weeks ago when he said this, and then backed it up with a tweeted photo of Matt Smith and Karen Gillan in the 1960s era with the 1960s era Dalek.
I really like the Fanta Daleks. I really want them to do the commercial, though.
Oh yeah, that'd be awesome.
That would be great.
So if you want to, you see that one with Smith and Gillian. It's on our Sci-Fi website. So kind of cool. Here is one good news for Munsters. Okay, we've been bagging on it, saying, you're going to reboot the Munsters and all that.
I don't know. I'm a little excited though.
Eddie Izzard is going to be cast as Grandpa Munster.
No way.
Nice.
Really?
Yes.
Nice.
Eddie Izzard?
Eddie Izzard, dude.
I love it. He's the only person that could pull that off.
As Grandpa Munster? Sure, why not? And British actress Charity Wakefield will take over the role of the normal character of Marilyn as well. She's pretty good for that as well. So the project, which was pushed to summer because of casting issues and creative aspects, comes from Pushing Daisies, of course, Brian Fuller. So there again is another reason
That's why I'm excited about it.
That's exactly when we talked about
I'm
it before.
I'll watch anything he does.
Yeah, Brian Fuller does great stuff. So
wow, that's awesome stuff.
Do we have time for one more?
Just very few seconds here.
Basically, Star Wars Connect finally hit the stores this last week. Got horrible reviews from everybody, but to publicize it, of course, Pepsi pimped out and said, hey, by the way, if you scan their bottle caps, basically you get unlockable content to those who basically buy them. So, and especially Brisk Iced Tea, of course, that's what they always do. But whatever. The game, I understand, blows chunks. So
okay.
That's all.
Well, let's actually go to some other news.
Good news. Yay.
Neutron Media presents Lance Neutron's Multiverse News featuring Lance Neutron. Good evening, I'm Lance Neutron. Well, tonight we have a very special report from our man inside the Capitol, Hampton Hazelbottom, as he has all the juicy details of the festivities leading up to the 74th Annual Hunger Games. Hampton, what's the vibe in the Capitol? Well, Lance, the anticipation has me squealing like a 3-year-old boy getting his ears pierced for the first time. Because of their fabulous showing in the tribute parade, everyone is having District 12 themed parties. Katniss fever is catching fire. Actually, my friend Penny Pumpernickel went a little too literal with her party theme and burned down an entire banquet hall. Now, my party is a different story. In honor of the difficult life of those poor souls from District 12, I will be having an ultra-rustic themed, no-frills party. So if you're coming to my party, you are limited to wearing one of these very basic colors: slate gray, cornflower blue, cyan, lemon chiffon, vermilion, sienna, chartreuse, cerulean, fuchsia. Oh no, we don't want to go with that basic. Let's say heliotrope. And of course, thistle, antique plum, and corn silk. With those limitations, I don't think anything in my wardrobe will work, so you know what that means: shopping! And wait till you hear my rustic backwater menu. First, we'll be limited to only 6 types of bread baked in basic double helix shapes. Now, the formal meal will start off with a basic pomegranate oyster bisque, and then a foie gras bleu, which is a genetically melancholy goose liver pate garnished with blue blood oranges. And for a main course, we'll be having steamed turducken in a honey apple curry sauce. Log cabin, anyone? And for dessert, a scandalously simple shimmering semi-freeze-stone peach flambe. Well, we had to have flames somewhere. Whoa, Hampton! When you said no frills, you weren't kidding. I know. I'm afraid the Peacekeepers are going to shut it down. It's so simple. Well, see you there, Lance, and you're going to have to tell me how you get your hair to shine like that. What is your product? That's a heavily guarded trade secret, my friend. Well, thanks for the update, Hampton. That's the news, and we take you back now to Draco Vista, which is probably somewhere in District 3.
Coming to Halogen this April. It's the longest-running war in Africa.
Children are being forced to kill other children.
And 6 young volunteers are doing what they can to bring it to an end.
I need to be working for something that is bigger than all of us combined.
They've put their lives on hold.
You work for free, you live out of a van.
And taken to the open road.
It's taxing at times.
I know I'm here for a reason.
Join them on their unforgettable quest.
The amount of money we need to raise has real consequences in people's lives if we don't.
Roadworthy, the Invisible Children Tour, this April, exclusively on Halogen.
And welcome back to more of Slice of Sci-Fi. I'm Michael Armenegay.
And I'm Brian Brown. Today, folks, we have with us Russell Hornsby. Yet another person from Grimm we're talking to because, well, we love Grimm. And
absolutely.
It's really fantastic. And so we brought Russell on board. Hey, Russell, how you doing?
I'm doing well, guys. How's you guys doing today?
We're doing pretty good. So Russell plays Detective Hank Griffin on Grimm. He's the straight man, as I like to call him.
Very much so, the straight man. Sometimes a little too straight for me, but
poor Hank. I mean, really?
No, I mean it's like you gotta let him breathe a little bit every now and then.
Yeah, but it's fun is still had by all. I think I think they'll let me breathe, soon yet,
Okay.
Let me sort of break out of my shell.
Okay. A little foreshadowing there. I like it.
We know that you're still filming right now, and congratulations, you guys got another season down the pipe, so that's going to be exciting as well.
Yeah, very excited. We're excited for another season, and job security is always wonderful.
yeah. As an actor, I'm sure it's like you're not having to hustle around and find your next gig. So yeah.
Yes, it loses its luster the older you get.
So Hank is really, like I said, he really doesn't. I'm sure he has inklings of that there's something funky going on, but honestly, he's mostly kept in the dark of the grimness of the Grimm universe at all.
Yeah.
I mean, Hank represents, as you said, he is the straight man. He is the man who is sort of grounded. He represents the true procedural aspect of this procedural, fantastical fantasy marriage. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Of the show, and he is recognizing as the series goes on that the town is getting weirder and a little crazier. I mean, we're not just having just your typical everyday murder and homicide,
Right.
Sort of the crime scenes being, these grotesque things happening and people being mauled and maimed. Killing is taking on a different twist nowadays. So I think he's sort of paying attention to that. So hopefully soon enough, he might be introduced to the dark side, if you will.
Right,
and I think that's the case. I have to throw this out just a little bit. I mean, the way I think of Hank is that he actually does know what's going on, but he actually pushes that out of his head, and because he wants to focus on what's real and what's tangible that he can work with. Is that accurate? I just had to ask that.
Ooh, that's a hell of a stretch. You know what? I don't know, but it sounds very interesting.
Yeah.
That's definitely something it's conceivable. But I think, though, the kind of character that they have set up for Hank and the way I'm playing Hank is that, if he wouldn't allow himself to be perceived that much into the dark if he was. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think him that duplicitous to sort of, allow himself to just sort of go along to get along. I think if he did know something was going on, he would speak out about it. I think just sort of that's his character. That's who he is. The kind of person he is. If he had more than just an idea that there's something weird going on that he just can't quite put his finger on, which he said, but if he knew of something more, I think he would speak out.
Well, there's some lines. That's the thing that just keeps. There are some lines that Hank says that just really
kind of make you think.
It makes me go, okay. Or even if he's not 100% aware of it, that he knows deep down he has an inkling that something is happening.
You know what? It's like I sort of compare it to in the 80s when the drug culture sort of set in, and it's that there were a lot of robberies, there were a lot of armed robberies, there were a lot of burglaries, right? And so right just before that, as that was happening, that's when the crack epidemic came. So people were sitting there, I'm sure a lot of police officers, a lot of detectives were saying, what is going on here? Why is it all of a sudden that people are stealing grandma's china?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they're saying, and it's like, this is weird, this is odd. And then what happens 6 months later, boom, the onslaught of crack hits the streets.
Right.
And you go, that's what it was. See, I knew it was something. You know what I mean? And I think that's what it is. I think he just knows that we're in the midst of a sea change.
Okay.
I like that.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yes, I do. I really, really dig that explanation. I really, really dig that. That's awesome.
You know what I mean? So I think that's what it is. Because I think that this world of ghosts, goblins, and ghouls, and people morphing and shit, that's out of his comprehension. That's out of his realm of possibility. I think that's what's going to make it interesting and, dare say, funny as the show moves on. The absurdity of it all.
Oh, absolutely.
It's like you do. If this so happens, it's like he did what, you do what, you are what. What is this? You can see him. Are you fucking nuts?
Yeah, and I can see him saying that too. I can totally see him saying, and it would take. And Nick would really have to really kind of, really convince him.
This is what my mother told me was my brain on drugs. What are you talking about?
Exactly.
So I think that, and what I appreciate about the show and the stories and where they're taking them is that I believe that the writers are sort of methodically and purposely taking their time, and because I think when you look at a series, I don't think when you start a series, everybody thinks you have to think 5 years, right?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, you have to have stories that will last over the course of 3, 4, and 5 seasons. So now, if this were a miniseries, by episode 4, Hank would know.
True. Yeah. Okay. You're right. Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So if we look at it, and so I think because the audiences are so involved with the storylines and the characters and whatnot, you're saying, God damn it, he just morphed. Why turn your head back? You know what I mean? Like, can't you see?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, no, we have to, the writers, it's incumbent upon the writers to take their time, to walk down this journey, walk down that road slowly.
And that's what I love about this show. I mean, the writing has been just superb.
Phenomenal.
I mean, and that's what makes a show so great, is when you got writers that get the subject matter, know the characters, know the people who are portraying the characters, and put you in the right positions. And I think they're doing that very well.
I couldn't agree with you more. And that's what makes it fun to go to work every day. That's why why it's fun to go to work every day, because you're allowing yourself to have fun. You're giving the chance to sort of dig in deep into this world, into these characters, and sort of embody them. They've given me the liberty to embody Hank as I see fit. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
His own rhythms, create his own idiosyncrasies, which in turn will help make him interesting. Because the reality of it is that when you're talking about, a procedural drama, and you're talking about procedural main characters, they're not necessarily, unless you're really speaking about, a Scully and a Mulder or a Monk, they're not necessarily character specific. They're not drawn specifically as characters. They're archetypes. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
This guy, this is the cop. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so it's basically what would make Hank interesting is what Russell brings to Hank.
Right.
And then you hope that as the show builds, then they start to give you some character stuff that makes them interesting, to watch, and makes them more interesting to play.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, Hank is in Law and Order. Hank is in CSI. Hank is, you know what I mean? That's who he is. But it's incumbent upon me as the actor to say, hey, the way I deliver this line, the way I walk, the way my je ne sais quoi, people find it interesting, and just that's what that's about.
Yeah.
For now.
That's what's awesome about this show. It's basically CSI in Kingdom.
Right, and I totally agree. But I think though, in that it has these I don't know. I think it's told very honestly and very earnestly, which sort of gives it some credit. Which I feel gives it a little bit greater credibility.
Mm-hmm.
As well. You know what I mean? Yes, it is fantasy and this, that, and the third, but we take ourselves seriously, but we still give you a little wink.
Yeah, and I get that, definitely. So, well, Russell, we unfortunately have run out of time to talk to you today, but thank you very much for spending some time with us.
Gentlemen, the pleasure was all mine. Thank you for the opportunity.
So, folks, catch Russell Hornsby as Detective Hank Griffin on Grimm. It is an awesome show, and Russell, we look forward to talking to you real soon.
Thank you, sir.
All right, we'll be back with more Slice of Sci-Fi right after this.
Since 2002, this studio has produced thousands of hours of free programming. It has required countless thousands of hours of work by dedicated people to make this happen. And it has required thousands of dollars in equipment and production costs. We can continue to do this because of people just like you. People who are willing to donate just a little to help us do what we love. So I ask you now, go to sliceofsci-fi.com and click the donate button. Even the littlest amount helps in so many ways. Sliceofsci-fi.com. Please donate. Help us to continue to bring the quality entertainment that you have grown to love.
This week's Con Report is brought to you by Geek Nation Tours. Find out more at geeknationtours.com.
Hey, everybody. This is Marshall White. I'm the programming director for Conglomeration, which is a fan-run science fiction and fantasy convention in Louisville, Kentucky. We are pleased to announce that our guest of honor, our literary guest of honor, is Mr. Michael Williams, who is originally from Louisville. He has written a lot of Gothic, historical fiction, fantasy, SF, magical realism sort of novels, beginning with Weasel's Luck, Galen Benighted, the critically acclaimed Arcady, and most recently Trajan's Ark. His new novel, Vine, will be released this summer. And, of course, fans probably know him best for his 5 Dragonlance novels. So we are looking forward to having him at the convention. The convention dates are April 13th through 15th, 2012, and we will be at the Louisville Ramada Plaza Hotel and Conference Center. So if you want to register for the convention or learn more about it, please visit us at www.conglomeration.info. That's conglomeration.info. Thanks so much. We'll have more news as we get it.
Excellent
awesome stuff.
And the 13th, just a couple days away.
Very true.
If you haven't made your
If you're in that area, go for it.
Go for it, absolutely. Got one little thing
I want to talk about this because this news story came across. We've been talking about Michael Bay and the Ninja Turtles. Megan, yes, I know, face palm. So, but my biggest thing is now we have another guy popping up. It's Jonathan Lieberman from. He basically has Michael Bay's back, predicting the fans will be extremely happy. We keep hearing this phrase over again. You'll be extremely happy. You won't be disappointed.
Michael Bay loves you.
Yeah.
You trust Michael Bay.
Well, and the thing they also keep touting out is that the co-creators, Kevin Eastman of they're back. We're bringing them back. They're going to help us out the ride behind it. The thing is, these guys sold the rights away years ago, folks. They have no dog in this fight. But the fact that they keep bringing them up and saying, "Well, they're behind it. It's all good." Really, you'd be happy.
They're behind it because they have no choice but be behind it. They got a big bag of money that said,
True.
We're behind it because we got paid really good.
Well, and that's the other thing too. I'm a fan from long ago. Blah blah. It's like they're really drinking the Kool-Aid and they're really trying to promote the crap out of this thing. And you're like, really, dude, you're trying way too hard to put a positive spin on this. It
doesn't engender faith.
If you missed the listener feedback show last Friday, you might want to go back to because we're going to cover this pretty heavily. We already covered this pretty heavily there.
Yeah.
So.
But the fact is really, it's like, come on, guys, give me a break. Give me a break. Really?
Maybe it'll go so far it'll loop back around and we actually will have faith.
Oh.
That's what they're really trying to do.
Oh, you're saying circular.
Yeah.
What I'm really hoping is that people go back and read the original comics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, the Kevin Eastman comics that were out, because they're in big omnibuses. You can get them. They are really good. They're dark, too. That's the other thing.
That's true. I actually am a fan of the cartoon because that's what was around when I was a kid.
Right.
So that's what's being betrayed to me. But people who read the comics probably think what I like is crap. So.
Wow.
Well, you know. I'm not going to say anything because I like you, Megan.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So I guess that might be what they're getting at with
Maybe.
them.
I don't know.
It could be. I don't know. I'm still Alien Turtles. I'm still just
That's
not
just wrong.
there.
They're Mutant Ninja.
It's just that the lady doth protest too much. So
Anyway, that's going to do it for this show. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. You know all the numbers. 206-339-TREK. That's 206-339-8735. Send us some cool
voicemail
and stuff.
Give us some feedback. Like us on Facebook. Slice of Sci-Fi.tv. Slice of Sci-Fi.com.
All those fun things.
There we go.
See you in a few days. Bye.